Hi, good evening. Good evening, all of Tobago. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening, the Caribbean region, and good evening to our international base, our diaspora, everyone. I'm Ireland David, welcoming you to the Minority Report. This week, it's no different. Every week we continue to change gears, and today is going to bring a number of interesting conversations to the table yet again. And I really want to say thank you for those of you who continue to support, continue to log in to our program, and continue to express sentiments of gratitude, sentiments allowing us to realize that the things that we are discussing, the things that we are saying are not unnoticed. I want to say thank you for bringing us into your home weekly. And I must stress that weekly, not just because it has been a phenomenal feat and the overwhelming support that we've received from you, but also the fact that as a minority, we've been able to sustain this program going on 3 years. Yes, 3 whole years, 36 months of programming, of speaking to you, the people, presenting the facts, addressing the issues, and really having meaningful dialogue. And I think that it's a mammoth task. It is an overwhelming feat that to date we have been able to maintain this momentum. Many others would have attempted to join that race and would have failed miserably. And yet again, we continue to see many others attempting to do similar. And I mean, we know that though we wish them well, but we know that there is a certain amount of discipline and commitment that comes with being accountable to a nation. And we have not been able to see that expressed in no other entity thus far, but in fact, those that represent the People's National Movement. So again, let me say good evening. I want to just go through our viewing platforms. You can look at this program on the Tobago Updates website. You can view us on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. You can also log into your Facebook platform and just simply type in Tobago Updates, and you will see the Facebook page. For those of you logging in on Tobago Updates Television, if you are subscribed to the AMPLIA network, you just simply turn your television to channel 102. That is channel 102. And you can simply have us into your living rooms at the spur of the moment, just like that, where you and your family can sit in the comfort of your home and simply view the program. For those of you who are willing to comment, the most suitable platform would be the Facebook page. And I urge you to always keep your comments respectful. Let's respect each other's points of views, and let us always seek to edify. Let us always seek to lift up. Let us always seek to build up each other with our comments. So great news for us this evening, and it speaks yet again volumes to the progressive nature of the Tobago Updates Network family. Viewing now, or available now, on Flow. Those of you who are Flow subscribers, you can now turn your channel to channel 121, that is Hub, and channel 130, which is AVS. And you can log into the Minority Report by simply logging on to your Flow cable. And this again is a milestone achievement coming out of the Tobago Updates Network. Again, we continue to see progress. We continue to see advancement. Quite a lot happening in a short space of time. And I think it's important to recognize growth and success. Success attracts growth, and growth attracts success. And so we want to say congratulations to Tobago Updates as a media house, as a network, for yet again creating and achieving this milestone in Tobago as a Tobago-based network. And I continue to say great things will continue to follow those who are diligent and committed and passionate to that which it is you find yourself a part of. So this evening, let me go right into introducing with me my guest in studio. Right to my immediate right, counselor, minority counselor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit. Welcome to the Minority Report. How are you?
I am wonderful. Good evening, Marilyn. Good evening to everyone tuned in to the Minority Report on all the platforms. I want to say a happy new year to each and everyone. This is my first time for the new year being on set. So again, thank you for continuing to have the Minority Report as the #1 program on Tobago Updates. And I just want to wish everybody a productive, prosperous, successful 2025 and beyond. It's really good to be back on set again.
Very good to have you.
You know, share the information, the facts, the receipts, and, you know, just enlighten the general public as to what is happening on our island.
Very well said, as per usual, and indeed, welcome back. It is good to have you back on set. A lot of persons were asking, where is Minority Counselor? Where is the Minority Counselor? And then, you know, people are literally saying, Lord, just these men just come in every week. There is no rose between the thorns. So really, really, really welcome back. And we do, in fact, look forward to so much in terms of our discussions. Minority Counselor, and this is our 3rd year, as I indicated.
Yes.
And as many persons know, you know, when we started this journey,
it was indeed a journey, because the journey was new, I think, for all of us. The minority leader, it was his first time, you know, holding that seat. And for me, it was my first time, you know, being in the political arena in this capacity. And I think it has been a great learning and growing experience for us both. It has also been an eye-opening and a rewarding one, because, you know, having the ability to, although we are on the opposition, as a people's national movement, we continue to boast that we serve the people in office and out of office. And even as persons come to us as the minority, come into our office, stop us on the road and ask for assistance, whatever way we can assist, we try to assist. And I think the minority has been doing a good job assisting persons and serving the people, even while not holding the executive of the Tobago House of Assembly. And that's truly stated. A lot of persons, when we began this journey, especially on the Minority Report, when they saw us, I don't know if you remember those first couple months, sometimes we would go outside and just take deep breaths, because the general sentiments being expressed in some cases were very hostile. Yes, it was, because persons didn't want to hear the minority speak, you know, because the euphoria of the new administration coming to office was still very high. And, you know, it was sometimes intimidating for us. And then when you look at the overwhelming defeat, 14-1, you know, it seemed unsurmountable at times. But, you know, with God's grace, with prayers from the people, with, you know, the continued support of persons who, you know, have just been so very instrumental in our growth and development, you know, we can't, thank you is insufficient.
True. You know, and even as we add 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, what we actually saw was a turnaround. And that turnaround, and it's interesting to note that turnaround wasn't just sustained in terms of the public now participating actively on the program and actually listening to the views, but we saw a mounting swell where there was not just support, even just locally in terms of in Tobago, but we have a massive fan base, if you want to call it that, in terms of the diaspora. Persons who, even when we take our breaks, they are waiting with bated breath.
People reach out and ask,
yes,
is there a minority report today? What's happening with the minority report? When you will be returning? And we really, really thank you for that support. And I'm sitting here, and as we said, when we started back in 2021, there are a number of programs who tried to mimic us, although we were in the minority. And I'm trying to remember what was the name of the one that appeared on a Thursday night.
It's full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
I call them non-disclosure. Because all the experience was closure.
How long did that program last?
Not as long as the Red House Fire. And to think that program was fueled by the administration, and they could not sustain, and it speaks volumes to not just the fact that they couldn't sustain a program, but it speaks volumes to the work ethic of the administration, even as they entered office. And it's sad to say that we've seen that deplorable work ethic just continue to consistently decline in every single,
in the administration,
transcend all the way down through. So as the Bible speaks of the anointing flowing from the head, the oil from the head of Aaron down to the beard and to the chest, and sadly we've seen that dull and dismal sense of leadership, and the entire THA is in fact affected negatively by it. Folks, we're going to go to a short break as we discuss a bit in terms of the journey that we've taken to get here thus far. We're going to pay a couple bills that actually when the program started nobody wanted to advertise. No one wanted to advertise.
That is so true, because we went several programs without even having a break.
Not even a break.
Any advertisement.
Thanks to the management, they would just run the Tobago updates real so that we could have gotten a little rest sometimes. But thanks now, we have a number of persons willing to advertise on what is commonly known now as prime time when the Minority Report is on. So folks, we're going to be right back, and stay tuned.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Springs. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
So folks, we are back, and as we began the program, we've been talking about, how the journey that brought us here. And as per usual, I always want to give the opportunity for us to hear from the minority leader himself. And let me take the opportunity to welcome him this evening, joining us in studio, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris. We have been talking about this journey, this 3-year journey thus far. And, just reminiscing a bit about it. How has it been for you coming into the assembly as what many may have called a newbie?
It's been quite an interesting journey. And, it is amazing how, sometimes you may feel so unprepared for a role, a purpose. But God has a way of just equipping you with all the skills at the right time, and just also placing you in the hands of the right people. Of course, the first choice I had to make was one of a counselor, and I could not find a better counselor in Minority Councillor Petal Daniel Benoit. And it just went from there, it's a perfect compliment. In so many different ways. I could be a little more aggressive at times, and then Patel is the voice of reason, very calm and collected. And we've both grown within this role of minority counselor and minority leader. And of course, you get more comfortable, you get more confident, and therefore you're able to bring up across your points even more effectively as time goes by. And you hear it from a number of people. They would share, you all have grown so much. And it is down to also the support from the party, from just all of Tobago as well. The prayers, the advice, the guidance, and so it has been a tremendous journey for me, of course, my family as well. And, it has really been an enjoyable one at the same time, challenging, but enjoyable.
And that indeed, and I'm seeing, even on the live here, people already start a number of hearts, sharing, because
it has. And let me just say good night as well to everyone, all our listeners, loyal. There are so many dedicated listeners. Sometimes, it is so amazing that we sometimes take for granted how many people look forward to the minority report and just engaging with us on a Tuesday. And it's like sometimes you're going about your own business in the grocery and you're here, so it is, and if it's one thing I am so proud about is the way we've been consistent with this minority report, this initiative, and it is. I think I said it last program. It is one of those things. If the public really want to compare the majority and the minority, that tells you about commitment, consistency, about planning, preparation, that even with less resources, we are able to stay committed to a program and deliver that program consistently, of a high quality every Tuesday consistently, and compare that to our opponents who with more resources, more people to share the load.
All the resources.
They have started a program around the same time, and it flopped within a couple months, maybe about 3 or 4 programs, and that was it. Yes, they had
about 3 or 4 episodes.
And therefore, it shows their inability to follow through with anything. And if you do the analysis and the assessment, you would see that is a real problem with this administration within all the divisions. And this is why perhaps they are failing so badly at delivering on the things they've promised.
Now, guys, we have a number of things to look into this evening, and a number of hot topics, and also we want to be able to simply touch before we close this evening on this Thursday's sitting with respect to the motion that the minority is taking to the House. But before we actually get there, for conversation's sake, persons kept messaging me all week, last week coming into this week, with respect to the fact that they've been going around Tobago. Some persons have been calling, asking about using recreational facilities. And the fact that simply no recreational facility is maintained enough that anybody can actually be granted use. And I'm speaking here because a number of churches, Carnival Camp is coming and that kind of thing. And when you drive around, I took the opportunity just to, you say probably people exaggerate. Nothing in this island is being maintained. We have we have a number of things, and last show I wanted to say something that the new word seems to be recommission. the word of the day, the word of the week, the word of the year. And we're seeing a number of those things happening. What is certain, shifting out of that, is that the PNM has built Tobago.
Most definitely.
The fact that you have something to recommission.
It should not be unsurprising that they are recommissioning, touching up things, because truthfully, they have access to over now $10 billion. Wow. I want Tobagonians to think about that. Over the course of 4 years, this administration would have had coming to them $10 billion. Think about what $10 billion is. And if after 4 years, all they can boast about is touching up, fixing up, painting up, putting on a roof here or there, and fixing some toilet, putting on some doors, after $10 billion,
$10 billion,
then you know you have an administration that would have failed miserably. Because contrast that to the PNM during their terms, and we can go term by term, and you would see over time consistently, the PNM was not just fixing what existed, but were creating and building new things to the point where we build out in almost every village. Had its own
community facilities,
center, its own health recreational facility, its own health center, its own school, and then we were able to put secondary schools in every region of Tobago. So it was no longer centralized to Scarborough and perhaps just in Roxbury in the east, but very far east, Speyside, come down to Goodwood, go over to Mason Hall, and so forth. And even when you look at how we started to build out THTI, to the point that now THTI provides culinary services and education for not just Tobago but Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore that is the vision of the PNM, is a vision that was all about building Tobago, using Tobagonians as well to build
most
Tobago,
importantly,
whether it's to provide the contracting services, and then of course if it's a school, it's Tobagonians who are providing the courses, the teaching, etc., etc., etc. And then it was a human capacity as well in terms of the education. And I always say, if you really want to measure development, measure the quality of life of the people.
Yeah.
And if you look at where Tobagonians were post 2001, and then where majority of the Tobago families ended were in 2021, you would see a drastic improvement in the quality of life of the average Tobagoan. I could speak personally for my family. We started in 2001. We were in a 2-bedroom board house for about 6 to 7 of us. And that board house became where opportunities came into a little, we put on a downstairs. And from that downstairs, we were able to do a massive renovation to add on rooms and move out most of the board, and then it's concrete. And you saw cars come by one by two.
Everybody driving.
And I think that minority leader, that is the story of most Tobagonians between that period 2001 to 2021. And that could have only happened because, as you said, there was a vision.
Correct.
So you had a vision, and every year you executed the vision, even with less financial resources. And more than that, you had the programs such as URP and CPEP. CPEP came to Tobago during that time, and where you empowered single mothers and parents. So there was a time where they could not be independent. They could not really provide for their families and their children. So that program was developed so that one, they could provide, they can have some sort of training while they participated in the program, and it ended sufficiently early enough so that they can be at home for when their children came home from school. So that was a level of empowerment and creating independence in women in particular. And again, I want to stress there was a vision, and because there was a vision, that vision was rolled out year after year. And you know, there's a conversation about 21 years, what you have to show for it. But 21 years at every 4-year interval, because the people saw that the vision was materialized and that the People's National Movement would have delivered, the people re-elected the People's National Movement consecutively for 4 terms. So it's not like we were in office. The PNM was in office for 2001, from 2001 to 2011, and there was no election between that period. We went back to the people.
Forget that,
We went back to the people every 4-year period, said this is what we did, this is what we promised, this is what we delivered. We are asking you to continue to allow us to deliver. And the people said yes every time.
Correct.
That is so true. That is so true. And we continue to see, even now, and I think 3 years into this term.
What you hearing?
It's 4 years. We stop, and that is
4 years into this term.
People are very convenient with their math, and they are very. They are trying to make it sound like if it is they are in their fourth year. So it's 4 years, not 3 years.
Yeah, because December 6th.
December 6th.
And
it's the anniversary of the 25 years.
Will be the end of their 4-year term.
So we are in the 4th
fact,
year.
we are in an election year, and you know, it's amazing. You're seeing as all of a sudden they have been awakened from their slumber, and there seem to be the urgency of now to do everything. So everything that they couldn't do in the last 3 years, all of a sudden,
there's a rush.
It's a rush to. But I understand. I have utmost confidence in the people of Tobago as right-thinking, decent, discerning, intelligent people who will not be fooled by these shenanigans. In fact, these practices are things that Tobagonians frowned upon. I was really moved by a post of a young man. I don't wish to call his name, but when that young man in all the back and forth, toing and froing about recommissioning and who saying that they do more in 3 years, the young man simply said, your job, we elected you to fix things, and therefore that should not be no boast. That is your work, and if you do your work well, people would re-elect you. If you don't, if people are not happy with your work, they will fire you, and that is the long and short of it. And of course, we in the minority who want the work, we now have to convince people that we have the capacity, we have the plans, the programs, the vision to convince people that we are in fact capable and a better alternative to do the work. And this is what we are going to advance. As I keep telling people, of course, you want to build out your vision in stages, because ultimately you don't want to just put everything that you have to do out there. There will be various phases of the rollout, but rest assured, the PNM, through the leadership, is working assiduously behind the scenes, using some of the best and brightest minds in Tobago to ensure that in every sector, across the length and breadth of Tobago and across the length and breadth of the sectors, we will have the kind of plans and programs that would make you really proud of the Tobago that we are going to create under the next People's National Movement administration. And that is something I can speak with a level of authority and pride in what will be rolled out and advanced to the people. So, Holstrain, it will be coming. We will be talking to you as we go forward, and I am guaranteeing you that you will be excited by some of the things to come, and that will be advanced.
So, and I'm glad we're heading in this direction. We have seen in the general Tobago environment a high rising negative sentiment. We've seen great dissent in a number of things, and one of those things prompted Minority Leader a press release from you today. But before we actually go into the press release and the whole rationale behind it, I want Tobago to just hear some of the sentiments that have been expressed over the last couple of days of persons, again validating or revalidating what I think we knew from the very beginning, that we have a very lazy administration, a very they're non-transparent, they're deceptive, hence the term, the greatest deception. So, Mr. Director, could you run the clip with the Fisher folk, that young lady and her cry?
We put them there to articulate on our behalf, and the Chief Secretary has failed us as fishers. I am telling you here, I could say he has failed us. The 19th of December, Mr. Farley had his media briefing behind closed doors. Myself and two others were outside because we wanted to have a meeting with him, but he don't respond to emails, he don't respond to texts, and he doesn't really care about the people at Tobago. I will say, oh, fishers. Let me talk about my fishers. You don't care about the fishers. You don't care about fishermen, right? We have sent in, the last time we have sent in a hand document we hand to him when our organization now started. We gave him the document at Palatove. We tried to call him, reach out. We came to his office. He's a disrespectful little man. I'm very sorry to say that, but he's very disrespectful. He do not respond to emails. He do not send an acceptance to say, well, yes, I heard about the organization and we want to meet and have a meet and greet and sit down and do things the correct way. That's how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be leading by example, not curry favor and who you want or who looking to be a political regime party for you for this year. But I'm telling you, you ain't getting my vote again. You ain't getting my vote again. Our area representative, Mr. Wayne Clark, where is he? Silent on this matter from day one, nowhere to be found. He attended a meeting and said nothing. He said nothing. Where's the voice for Lambo? You are sitting inside there in the division. You need to say something.
Now, folks, and this is why we always take the opportunity to pull clips, because people are accustomed hearing the minority talking. But these are people in our everyday space. They're people who we see on the roads, they travel in the taxis, we buy fish from them consistently. And we have a couple other videos, we'll get into them a little later on. But this is something that we've seen as an ongoing issue since last year. And here it is that to date, these persons are still feeling the pain of the oil spill and the effect, the negative effect that it had on them. Minority Leader.
Well, I am happy that it's not the Minority Leader that's saying that this administration has failed. Here you have the fishers articulating that after almost a year, this administration has failed to address their plight. And of course, they would have been the main stakeholder that would have been adversely affected by this oil spill. And you would think a caring, responsible Tobago House of Assembly, regardless of how much you got, would have ensured that they carve out some portion of that allocation to treat with the main and major stakeholders who were so affected. And you're seeing, you're here, this is a serious indictment of this administration. It's an indictment on the representation, even at the level of the representative.
The electoral district.
And it also is an indictment on how the Secretary of Agriculture, because here it is, we are treating with claims for oil spill. And if the Secretary had so organized, understand this is an oil spill and you would need data and that kind of thing. If they had their house in order in such a way that they were able to be capturing average catch per day, that information alone would have been able to validate and at least be the baseline as to where you start with a compensation, because at least you will know the average catch at Lambo is X, Y, Z, and we can do the calculation, and you can, with a level of assurance, whether it is to the government, to yourself, or to IOPC, you could have been able to provide them with that data that would have been the basis. And therefore, you know, it is quite unfortunate. It is heartless, it is reckless, it is uncaring, it is unconscionable that after 8 months, going on a year, because it was February, I think we experienced that oil spill. So it's going on a year.
Almost a year.
And after this THA collected $50 million, of which they have not properly accounted for, the fishers have to be there protesting, clamoring, even to get a meeting with the Chief Secretary.
Just communication is a task.
Therefore, I want to reiterate the call I made in that press release for the Chief Secretary to provide a detailed statement as to how this $50 million would have been disbursed so far. Let the people of Tobago know, and let the fishers see who would have received payments, what they were paid for, the amount they were paid, and let us know what of the $50 million is remaining. Is there any remaining balance? Because perhaps the question might very well be, has all this $50 million been used for oil spill related expenses?
Correct.
Or did the THA miss align, misuse,
reprioritize
this $50 million to deal with other expenses. And is that the reason why the Fishers, up after a year and after 6 months of receiving this in July, we are in January, the Fishers who are part of the claim that you put forward have not really been properly compensated? And this is wicked. It is heartless. And yes, we hear about the $2 million, but where is that? And of course, Thursday we have posed that clear question to the Chief Secretary, and I look forward to having that conversation with him in the House for him to account as to giving us a clear timeline as to when this $2 million would be paid, how it would be apportioned, and to ensure fairness and equity across the board.
And I want to ask the director just to pull back up that press release that came out of the Office of the Minority Leader today. And there are 3 clear questions that are being asked here. And Minority Leader, this is not just because you want to ask. I think all of Tobago is represented in these 3 questions.
Definitely.
It's important that all of Tobago understand, because $50 million cannot come to the island and then it just disappears.
Or to deal with expenses related to the oil spill. And then it goes elsewhere. But what I am also, what came out very glaring from this press conference as well is that this administration has been very consistent with how disrespectful they are and how they deal with stakeholders.
Yes.
Because it's not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third stakeholder that would have complained about how this administration dealt with them. And it's not until, because as the Minority Leader said, 6 months after receiving the allocation, the Fishers have to come out in the public domain to cuss and vent and express themselves for not being adequately communicated with. And even as you come, because you would have heard the All Fisher Folk chairman in previous press conferences speaking a different language. Now you have recognized that the conversation has since changed from what was being said in the past by the All Fisher Folk. So why is it that you have to either come on Facebook, come on the media, come in the public domain to express your dissatisfaction with how you are being treated for some level of action to happen with the Tobago House of Assembly? And from coming into office, that is what has consistently happened for any movement dealing with any stakeholder. This administration, you have to cost them.
And this administration has been consistently, along with the Chief Secretary, very deceptive. And they have a way that when they are caught with their proverbial pants down, they always try to throw somebody on the bus. And the record that they love to beat is the central government. And in this issue, you could recall in the earlies, that is what they were telling Fishers, giving the Fishers the impression like the central government
because that was the conversation.
Correct.
Even in receiving this $50 million and the first initial disbursement to the All Fisher Folk Association, that is Mr. Douglas Sandy, the Chief Secretary gave the public the impression as though this payment was really a payment for the relief of fishers. And then Mr. Douglas had to come and explain that no, this is money we are owed as workers as part of the oil spill cleanup. You remember that?
The cleanup.
And so this is why it's important to Tobagonians that we join the call for the Chief Secretary to be transparent in the disbursement of who got what they got it for, and the amount, so that we can be clear that that $50 million that was collected was properly utilized, because it's money that was given to treat with the oil spill, and therefore specifically it should not have a situation where you have the fisher folk, the people who ply the trade down at Lambo, and even as we heard from one of the gentlemen, as much as they weren't directly fishing in Lambo, many fishers across the island were affected because some have to get bait there. Some even this oil spill reach as far as the north side and all of that. So the point to be made is those fishers are the main stakeholders who were affected, and therefore if there are funds to treat with oil spill related relief, they should be the first in line to access that kind of relief. And I really look forward to all of Tobago standing up behind this call for us to clamor for the Chief Secretary to provide this information. It is important information, and it is in the spirit of transparency and good governance, accountability, and respecting the people of Tobago.
Exactly.
That this information should be made public, so that all of Tobago could have an appreciation for the fact that the money was properly utilized and apportioned. Because even within the oil spill arrangement, you were hearing a number of undertones. Some people are telling me there were ghost gangs. Some people are telling me there were ghost gangs.
Stories.
So we need to know how this and where there was this proper accountability in the process of paying people, and who collected, and that they were dutifully they were bona fide suppliers of services during that oil spill. Because you can't tell where the money done and you have fishers still waiting. You're still owing, and other suppliers. So as the political leader of the PNM, through a post he made on social media today, asked, where the money gone?
Simple.
Where the money gone? And the only way we can be assured of knowing where the money gone is by the Chief Secretary calling a press conference and detailing, outlining to the people of Tobago where the money went, how the money was spent.
And I want to urge even the different media personnel in Tobago to not be afraid to ask the right questions. Because too often we see things as serious as this that is severely affecting a number of families in Tobago. And when the media comes face to face with this administration, it's just like flowery words and reminiscing. So I want to urge the media personnel to also, when you get these guys, ask the question based on the facts that we have. Now, Minority Councillor, you highlighted something that this administration continues to be disrespectful, and a number of cries have gone on. I want to remind us of a similar incident, and I'll ask the director to pull this clip up and also run it. This has been the norm since then. Mr. Director.
And we were told by the chairman of the company that the gratuity would be ready by the first week or 2 weeks after the 30th. It is now 2 months. Nobody said anything to us. We have not heard anything from the company, and there are people there are some of us who are in a very dire situation as it refers to money, because already we were sent home without any notice. We do not have a job. We were sent home without any separation packages.
Another woman said Chief Secretary Fali Augustine failed in his promise to them as workers.
After our Chief Secretary came and spoke to us and gave us his word that nobody will be sent home, I cannot begin to describe what sort of integrity that this administration has displayed to the public of Tobago. None at all. They have not lived up to their word.
Some former workers are now jobless. Others are facing eviction. And one sole breadwinner is worried about her family's future.
I am now trying to grasp onto every little thing so that I can keep my family together. My children can be able to function in school, and also all my commitments, my loans, all my payments, or everything is chaotic right now for me.
When contacted by TV6 News, Chairman of the Board of TADCO, Ricardo Alfred, apologized for the delay in contacting the former workers, but added that efforts will be made to expedite payments as these funds are to be audited.
First, I want to really give some apologies that this matter wasn't brought to rest. I would also want to say that the matter is now, but it's before the audit persons by a private entity who will audit these persons, and hopefully by the end of this month, November, the persons will be paid. But it is currently, it has to be audited.
Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News.
So we see that this is a pattern, and listening to this today, my heart went out because the question came to my mind: where are these people now? What are they doing? Have they been absorbed into the system?
CPEP, you go back to the CPEP and all the workers who were sent home.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was a promise to reabsorb them.
Yes.
We would have filed a question in the House under the former Secretary of Community Development. I think very few of them may have been reabsorbed, but where they are now.
Where are they now?
And you know, so this seems to be, as you said, a pattern and a recurring theme, a theme of failure, a theme of disappointment, that we really felt that our lives would be better, but in a real sense, it appears that things are actually worse.
Yeah.
Because here it is, I had a job, now I don't have a job.
Yeah.
And I don't know where my next income.
I didn't expect an oil spill, but there was an oil spill. But I expect some form of relief.
Yeah.
You promised me relief, but up to now I can't get the relief. And it seems as though the Chief Secretary appears to be a man not of his word. You cannot trust him. And, you know, that is one of the fundamental things I think people really look towards in a leader. Knowing that I can trust you, because at the end of the day, I am placing my hopes, my dreams, my aspiration, my life and that of my family in your hands. And therefore, I have to feel comfortable that you will make decisions in my best interest. I can trust what you are saying to me. And when you listen to all these stories playing out, this is not Kelvin saying it, Petal saying it. These are real stories by real Tobagonians who are telling you, this is what happened to us. Look, just this week, 2 more women were sent home in the division of settlements. Sent home and well qualified, doing their work, and you just decide to restructure in the name of restructuring this unit. That, and I understand one of the positions is critical because one of the workers they are responsible for all the people bringing in forms, directing them how to sign up the forms. So you know what they're doing in reverse. I understand. I saw where they are now telling the district offices they are going to train the people in the district in the area reps office
to complete
the forms. So you take away bread from one person's mouth to put more work on others. So it is just continuous a story of continuous failure, a story of continuous disappointment, and perhaps, I don't know, and we continuously make this reference because oftentimes in Tobago there seems to be a real quietness going around. People are just silent. People, they're watching, but they're not saying much. And, you know, while that quietness perhaps may signal some future action, what it also does is empower this administration to continue to do their wickedness. So it was people down at Works, Monitoring and Evaluation first, started there. And we were quiet. So they felt empowered to go over to the office of the chief secretary. And when they got their throats bust, we remained quiet, and they felt even more empowered to go to CPEP. Of course, by that time, we started to make a little noise. They stop a little bit. And they are back at it again. Firing honest, diligent Tobagonians, taking bread and butter out of the mouth of Tobagonians and ensuring that we have children going to bed with nothing to eat, waking up with hungry bellies. That is what these wicked people are doing in Tobago at this time.
But Minority Leader, I want to go back to when we just came into office and, you know, the level of deception is now being exposed. Because what I recall from hearing the Fishers and all the other persons now coming out to the forefront, I remember us being in the office and a young lady coming to the office. And it's like, I think she brought a level of emotion to all of us. And she was so distraught. She was in tears. Because it's that same level of trust. Because she trusted the word of the chief secretary.
From Castara.
She made appointment. She said the chief secretary gave her certain commitments that she relied upon. And when she went to see the chief secretary, she could not see him. She spent her last to come to Scarborough. The lady was literally in tears.
Trusted in the leader.
And that was early in the term of this administration.
Look what they're doing with Scarborough Sec. Because they wanted the hoorah, run up to Bacalet. No plan. No allocation. Remember when we asked the question?
They don't know where they find the money from.
Have you got the allocation?
The source of
fund, and the Secretary of Education told us the Chief Secretary will find the money. So you don't have the allocation. You don't have the design. You have not put out an RFP for the contractor. But you went and turned sod. You don't even know if that area that you turn the sod is the area you're going to even build the school. Just to mama guy, the parents, the teachers, and the students, and all of Tobago. And because you know you have your usual broken script, then you turn it wrong and put it on the central government. You know what they remind me of? I don't know if you all saw something going on in the musical industry space. But a young man heard a very beautiful rhythm. What decide that I like that rhythm, I'm talented, and I'm going to sing a song, and here what? I hoping that the song so good that I could invent, because he said he reach out to them. He wasn't getting them. So he decided he would make his song, put it out.
Do the wrong thing.
So you start on the wrong foot, but expect a right ending. And therefore, it cannot be that way. Life is about doing things along a process and a procedure and following it through. How you would start up, and even when it comes to OPR, OPR require that even before you put out a tender, you must identify the source of funds. So even that, they're breaking the law by even starting a process where they have not identified the funding.
But when you're breaking ground, the mere fact that you break ground means that you intend to construct. You start to work. You can't break ground and don't know what next.
You don't get back hard.
So, and you know, the reason why I raise that is because I know that is one of the issues that they will come to you, Tobagonians, trying to mama guy you and tell you that, look, we were ready to build the school. Look, we turned the sod. But it's them people in Trinidad who don't want to give you the money for it to build. That is what they're going to tell you. But they won't tell you the truth that they didn't go through the process. This requires a level of funding that has to come from international funding. And because it's international funding, it requires you to have all your ducks in line. And when they're asking you for your docs, where's the design, where's this, where's the approvals? You have nothing.
Also, have they provided the information to assist or facilitate the obtaining of, of the loan?
Well, that is the documents that they have not provided that. Because they have not done any, you don't have a design, you don't even know if it would, if it's a 2-story building or 1-story building.
So if you don't have a design, then you don't have a cost.
You don't have a plan, you don't have a project.
But remember, Minority Leader, that came in the nick of time to shield them from something that they were already neck deep in, a gate, something gate. But we also have something gate, I can't remember it, but we also have another video to further validate the claim of a number of persons who are crying out. Mr. Director, could you run that particular clip as well?
Mr. Imbert, ATFA would have wrote to Imbert inquiring about the payment for fisher folks. Inquiring what is wrong. Why you're not paying Tobago and you have something against Tobago? Mr. Imbert and the Ministry of Finance responded to ATFA and said we would have organized this since the 9th of July. The 9th of July 2024. You look at here, I assigned in the sum to the THA, the House of Assembly accrediting THA in the sum of $50 million to pay the contractors and ATFA. Look at here, I didn't say so. I even sent you a copy of this letter. I sent you a copy of this letter, Honorable Chief Secretary. So why it is you're going and attacking ATFA and Curtis Douglas? Mr. Imbert would have sent this, and I will give a copy to the media. Yeah? Because I want to be clear. So when you're pelting your big stone, remember you live in a glass house too. Remember you live in a glass house too. But as the old people said, Farley, not stay.
There we have it, folks, again.
And you know, it's important. I think again, this just shows to Begonians that we ought not take chain up from this chief secretary that is very dangerous, deceptive, and dishonest.
You can't trust his
because
word.
Here it is.
Trust him.
He's telling Curtis that is
central
government and give them no money, and it's only when after wrote directly to the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Finance provided the evidence. We sent that money since the 9th
of July.
So it means that even between that intervening time before they had that press conference, they were of the belief. Because you hear he's saying?
Yes.
You see the impression. He believes that the central government don't like Tobagonians and they punish it because that is the mantra.
The narrative.
That is the narrative that they are pushing amongst their supporters. So everything that happens, whenever they have an issue, you would hear the supporters saying, that is the central government giving them money and they're stifling them and they punish. How could a central government who is stifling you and punishing you? Every year you receive
so much
more additional
of what you received last year, and even more than what the past administration got.
And you're also getting it in more favorable terms. So you getting it 2 months in advance and you get the last portion on the 3rd month. So that completes your quarterly. While the previous administration used to have to month to month. Look, I see the Secretary of Finance now, and I challenge her on the overdraft figure because she was in the House boasting how they have prudently managed and they have gotten down the overdraft to a minimal amount. You remember that?
Yes.
Now I'm hearing she trying to tell Tobagonians that the overdraft, because of them getting it 2 months in block and the way they're getting it is all $30 million a month.
So which is it?
So
is
which
it that
is
they
it?
manage?
Make up your mind.
I
Make up your mind.
I say like I said like the Honorable Chief Secretary spit in she mouth.
Yeah, make up your mind.
She came in with so much promise, and within 2 months she has adopted everything, including misrepresenting the truth. That in one breath you told us you only bring it down and you try to make the PNM so bad. But I was saying, if the PNM, even with the month-to-month arrangement, and they having to manage this large overdraft, was still able to pay bills, do development and all that.
And the
allocation was less.
Then you really have to compliment
and you won't
what
be
the
paid
PNM was able to achieve. And now you having more favorable terms, and you still trying to say somebody don't like you and they like you less when you getting better treatment.
Yeah.
And so we really have to cut through that narrative of some kind of deliberating. I'm saying in governance there are issues would arise, but to try to give the impression that is some deliberate kind of thing to punish somebody or victimize somebody.
Yeah.
When the facts don't bear it out, this administration was more fortunate than even the previous PNM in that the Prime Minister took all the senior members of his cabinet. He didn't ask and journey to Tobago to meet with this administration, to sit down, to hear what is their development plans and their needs, so that they can work hand in hand to ensure that they achieve it.
Wasted trip.
Which one?
They had none.
Which one of the PNM administrations ever benefited from any prime minister
bringing
everybody in that kind of way
to provide that level of support?
And if for this prime minister alone, we would have had going with this brand new modern international airport terminal, we would have had the Sandals Resort and perhaps even more.
Yes.
We would have had a marina. And even more. We would have had a dual highway and even more.
First class.
Actually
leading to something.
Right? And the list goes on and on. All the works, the infrastructure works that is going on in Tobago, Southwest, water pipe installation to improve
the silting of
Hills Road Dam. And the list goes on, and you are still trying to tell Tobagonians that somehow there's the Prime Minister who is a Tobagonian at heart, that don't just talk Tobago, but live Tobago. This Prime Minister is the first Prime Minister that would have frequented Tobago in such a way. Imagine the Prime Minister's residence was left abandoned for so long. So you decide that in Tobago there should be a residence for the Prime Minister that is worthy of a Prime Minister being in Tobago and saying, I am part of Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct.
So that narrative is something we must debunk, we must reject, and we must not accept. Because here it is, look, Curtis Douglas. Before I know him, as he's not a PNM supporter.
No, not at all.
He's one of the most vocal opponents against the PNM. And of course, we know he's in the past, one of Fali's biggest supporters. But look, because of what he has experienced, he had no choice but to come out and call out the Chief Secretary based on the fact that the Chief Secretary was misleading him all the time.
Yeah, because before now, I have seen him on other media stations speaking about this whole issue with resolving and getting compensation for the fisher folk. And again, back then when he was having the conversation, it was about the central government not providing money for the Tobago House of
Assembly. Time he get the money already.
And let us be clear as well, So the central government have obligations and contractors that they dealt with directly, and they would have through the Ministry of Energy treated with it. But this 50 million was specific to the people
in Tobago
that the THA would have engaged. And therefore, that is why I'm saying, because we don't even know to what extent the THA is paying this 50 million. What is it for? Is it, well, we know some of it is for people who provided cleanup, provided some equipment to Tima. We know people would have provided some catering and all that. But we need to know exactly how much went where.
Who get paid.
Give us the details of who got paid and for what. This is important because you're hearing this $50 million and nobody knows where this $50 million gone. So fishermen, all the service providers, I want you all to join this clarion call for the Chief Secretary to come clean and provide the information as to where this $50 million gone.
Guys, before we start winding down, because I'm already getting the cues. Thursday, we head into another sitting of the Assembly, and the minority has provided a motion. I'll ask the director to pull the motion up, and just to give an appreciation to the public as to where this is coming from and the rationale behind it.
So this motion stems from, as you all would recall, the Chief Secretary announcing that they were embarking as their emergency road projects, 4 roads prior to so he came around September, early September, and announced that they would have approved the implementation of 4 roads as emergency roads for the Tobago Carnival. And a blind man could have seen
1 month later
that 1 month later that was almost impossible to deliver. We warned them, they did not take heed, but for some reason he felt like this had to happen, and so they went ahead. 3 years later, that road project was announced in 2022. We are now in 2025. 3 years later, they have only delivered 1 road at a whopping $19 million, when the assessors would have said this road should be done for about $8 million. And the other 3 roads are incomplete. One has not started at all. And therefore, any right-thinking person, any decent, well-meaning Tobagonian will agree with us that this warrants further investigation, and therefore this is what we'll be calling on the House. And if there are decent Tobagonians on the other side, I think they would have absolutely no challenge with us having an independent investigation as to ascertain and ensure that both the process, including the procurement, including the value for works, and all of that was in keeping with the principles of transparency, accountability, and good governance.
And speaking about good governance and accountability, you initially said that one of the roads isn't even started yet. What is even worse is that we would have heard in a joint select committee the truth actually coming out, where the administrator is saying that they were instructed now to renegotiate. But remember, the Chief Secretary would have made some statements.
Remember, even in and out of the House, the Chief Secretary spoke about these roads are design, build, finance. And he went on to explain that this modality came about, and as a result of this modality, it means that the contractors will have to finance the projects fully, and they will not be paid in the first instance 9 months after, and then 18 months after. So they will not be fully compensated for the works that they would have done until 18 months after the completion of the project. Now we are hearing a different story. And that was one of the reasons why we on the minority recognize that the Tobago contractors were blacklisted. So if the Tobago contractors, it was felt that they could not finance the entire project and wait for 18 months to be paid, we are seeing a situation now where one of the contractors cannot.
I think for me, what is one of the most egregious and hurtful aspects of this whole scenario is that very early, this very same Chief Secretary demonized our Tobago contractors, and to the point that many Tobagonians were labeling them corrupt and thief and all kind of names.
Put people through embarrassment.
And put them through embarrassment. Not just embarrassment, but many of them currently are struggling on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yep.
These are Tobago people that was employing hundreds of Tobagonians. And you turn around in a process that now appears to be rife with both corruption, inflated costs, and all of that. After you demonize Tobagonians with even less information, because you have a situation, and this is something the Chief Secretary has never been able to justify, and he would again be challenged in the House. How come you could tell us and demonize the Tobago contractors who were paid, who charged and were paid $1,400 a ton to place and install hot mix? That is to pave the road.
Yes.
Right? $1,400 a ton. You demonize them, saying they inflated the cost and all of that. And they
corrupt.
And you call a whole audit.
And you call a whole audit for that. Right? And then turn around in the same breath.
Yes.
And pay contractors from outside doing the very same things, using the same kind of hot mix, doing for the same kind of
thing.
Same. Apples to apples, very same thing. To place and install hot mix, you are paying $2,700 per ton. That is almost double.
Yeah.
That is a whole $1,300 extra. Think about it, Tobagonians.
Yeah.
That is $100 less than double. So it means for every road paved, we are really paying double the price of what we would have paid back then. And it means, therefore, that what is happening, that money that they are spending on those roads, half of that money could have gone either fixing another road or doing something else.
Meaningful.
Other things. So when you hear they complaining that they don't have no money, understand where the money gone. And how they have misused the money and misappropriate the money. And the question we have to ask, to whose benefit? To whose benefit? Who is benefiting from that extra $1,300? Who?
And that's just one item.
And that is just one item.
One item, yeah.
Folks,
so we would have that discussion, and I want Tobagonians to be logged on and locked on
Thursday
as we call, because I want you to watch them in the face when the evidence is brought to the table as to why we require and demand an investigation, and see which one of them, if any, is decent enough to stand up with you Tobagonians and give you that investigation that you deserve.
Folks, I always say it every week, we are never out of words.
Never.
But we are out of time. We want to thank you for joining with us. And we want to close with the same question, Minority Leader, that you asked. Where the money going?
Where the money going?
Just tell us where the money going.
The fishers asking it. The fishers want to know where the $50 million going.
Everybody asking.
Everybody asking where the money going.
Where the money going? $10 billion, you know? $10 billion Tobagonians. Where the money gone? 10 billion. So when they're telling you 3 years, don't just let it tell you 3 years. It's 4 years and $10 billion.
Correct.
And we have to ask the question, and we'll continue to ask the question, where the money gone?
And with that, we are going to close this evening. But as we leave, we want to remind us all of what were some of the initial plans of this administration to deal with that presumed 10 billion that would have come in. So we're saying good night, and we're saying looking forward to you all on Thursday and next week Tuesday as we come back to continue providing you with the information that is best suited for all of Tobago to make the informed decisions. Have a wonderful evening. Mr. Director, let's go out with that particular clip.
by the chairman of the company that the gratuity would be ready by the first week or 2 weeks after the 30th. It is now 2 months. Nobody said anything to us. We have not heard anything from the company, and there are some of us who are in a very dire situation as it refers to money, because already we were sent home without any notice. We do not have a job. We were sent home without any separation packages.
Another woman said Chief Secretary Fali Augustine failed in his promise to them as workers.
After our Chief Secretary came and spoke to us and gave us his word that nobody will be sent home, I cannot begin to describe what sort of integrity that this administration has displayed to the public of Tobago. None at all. We have not lived.